crafting memorable customer journeys, harnessing digital innovation for exceptional experiences. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and welcome Professor Anand Kumar Jaiswal, Professor of Marketing, IIM Ahmedabad. A round of applause, please, for Professor Jaiswal.
Okay. This is back. This is okay. So good afternoon to all of you. I'm Anand Jaiswal. I'm Professor of Marketing at IIM Ahmedabad. Now, the mandate given to me by the organizer was a little different. So it's not a panel discussion. I was told to deliver master classes or conduct workshop and on two different topics. So the first part of my workshop or class is on customer experience management. And after a while, I will do a small workshop on innovation, frugal innovation, how exactly we can create customer value through frugal innovation or business model innovation. So it's a little more conceptual, and in fact, we offer a 25-session course to our graduates, and we do a 7-day program for executives on customer experience management. And when you need to compress all of that in 15, 20 minutes, it's challenging, but I will attempt to provide you an overview. So let me start with, in fact, in morning, Mr. Sushant Das was here, and we heard him. He's the current CEO of Starbucks. Now, if you look at Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, or any member of the leadership team of Starbucks, they always say, we are not in business of selling coffee-based drinking. We are in business of offering or developing or creating unique, compelling experience for customers. And they say everything we do in the store is just props. So that probably, is one, so we need an explanation, for example, why consumers, or some consumer at least, they're willing to pay 300 or 300 plus for a cup of coffee. You can have a reasonably good cup of coffee at a 1/10 of the price, 30, 40, 50 rupees, even lower in some cases. But why consumers pay 300 or more in India? That's one. So so Starbucks says that we are in business of selling experience, not coffee drink. Now, if you look at even otherwise in very different industry, like, interesting statement by Colin Marshall, former British Airways chairman, and he said that we are trying to compete in the airline business based on the unique experience we create. So there are many competitors of ours, for example, the low-cost carriers, and they have a commodity mindset. They attempt to carry customers from point 1 to point B, for example, or point 1 to point 2 at the lowest possible cost. But this is not what we are doing. We are creating unique experience for our customers, and we charge a premium for that. Now, if you look at, nowadays market is increasing. In fact, since morning, everybody is using this term, customer experience, customer journey, very, very routinely, very frequently. So this term has become part of marketers' dictionary, very commonly, very heavily used term. In fact, if you download any software, I did just recently a particular software from Microsoft, and it says that download everything. If you really want Windows experience, that just they said that for complete window experience, do this, or allow us to provide all this, or provide us all this detail, and we'll give you real good experience. It's part of dictionary. In fact, high-tech companies, their CEOs, their leaders are talking about experience. So this has become an important component. Now, what is customer experience? Let us attempt to decode. Let us attempt to understand this a little more conceptually. So when we talk about customer experience, the different meaning, different understanding of this term, but the one meaning I'm going to talk about is little different. So when we talk about, I talked about Starbucks, but think about Disney World, what they are giving you. Is this a service, for example? Of course, it's not just product, but is this service? Probably not. It's something more. We'll discuss, or you think about all the, theme restaurant, for example. So if you visit Las Vegas, for example, I visited, you have a Planet Hollywood, for example, a very different experience they create for customers. Even in our country, in Jaipur, for example, some of you have visited Chowki Rani, they attempt to create a very different experience for their customer, of course, at a large scale or at a volume. So what exactly they do? So this is the question we can answer. So let me again attempt to explain. So when an organization attempt to offer something to customer, it can be of these offerings can be of 4 different types. Now, how to understand these 4 different types of offerings, so we have 2 dimensions. So first dimension is, for example, first dimension is on the vertical side, for example, you have a competitive positioning. On the horizontal side or x-axis, you have pricing, for example. Now, when you look at a base level, as an organization, as a firm, I can offer commodities to consumer, and these are undifferentiated products. Think about, when you're buying loose grains, even now, or you're buying construction material. Many of these things you're looking at the lowest cost product available in the market. Hardly there is any differentiation. So in that market, we say that you're in business of selling commodity. You're extracting in many cases, for example, salt. It used to be sold as a commodity. But eventually marketers try to bring in differentiation, like, edible salt, for example. Companies like Tata Salt or, earlier Unilever or ITC, they tried creating brand out of commodity by, giving purity, by giving certain functionality. So they started, so you're trying to create some difference and then sell that as a good or as a product, and then you attempt to charge a premium for that. But after a while, you realize that there is a commoditization even in a good business. So it's little difficult for you to differentiate yourself. So in fact, a lot of companies have moved to the next stage and they transform themselves as a service company. So IBM sold off his hardware business to Lenovo and ended up becoming a service company. Xerox or GE, more than 50% of the business of these companies are nowadays coming from the service business. They call beyond the box. They are no more a product manufacturing company. They are largely a service company. So again, through service, you're trying to create differentiation, you're trying to charge a premium. But increasingly in services also, there is a commoditization nowadays. Airlines, we were discussing that most airlines are trying to offer lowest cost to their consumers. Telecom, we have seen a bloodbath in Indian market just some time ago. Many businesses, e-commerce nowadays, that only thing matters is the price. So there is a commoditization there also. So what exactly you can do to further differentiate and charge a little more? So the next possibility is if you can convert your services into experience, then you have the possibility of having the highest possible differentiation and you can charge a maximum premium for that. So let us look at how this can be done. So the example, this example, how we say these 4 different types of offering, and this is the way actually economies have evolved or have grown. So look at the way birthday cake used to be made, probably more so in Western context. So maybe 60, 70 years ago, the homemakers, women used to buy flour, sugar, or salt, or all these ingredient commodities, and used to bake cake in their place at home. However, after a while, marketers spotted an opportunity and they started offering the birthday mix, for example. The cake mix, sorry, not birthday mix, a cake mix. So it's a mix you can easily use and then bake cake, for example, easily. So now the commodity has transformed into product. But after a while, these roadside bakeries have come up, and these roadside bakeries saying that we will bake a cake for you and we will home deliver. So now it has become a service. Now what we are seeing now, that there are event management companies, and what they say that we are not going to charge you for cake, for example, which you need for birthday celebration. We'll charge you for a celebration. We'll make the entire event memorable experience for you. So now, as I said, that the commodity has moved into experience domain, and then you have ability to charge exceptionally high prices for that. Because, in that process, in fact, most event management companies will give you that cake free of cost, as part of their experience staging or delivering process. So this is one. I was talking about the Starbucks, so that's an interesting example. Let us apply this framework in the coffee business. So if I'm selling raw coffee bean, which most coffee growers in southern India or in African countries, Ethiopia, for example, or Zaire, Congo, many other, those countries, those farmers sell commodity, in the form of coffee beans, raw coffee beans. Companies like Nestle, Unilever, they convert this commodity into product, a branded product. But in many cases, like you have Nestle vending machines offering you coffee, or you have roadside coffee shops. They sell you this in the form of service. But what Starbucks is doing is going beyond and saying that I'm not offering you service, but I'm offering you experience, and for that you need to pay $8, $10, $15, or in India, 300 or more. So this is, you have converted a commodity, undifferentiated commodity, into a, real high-end premium brand, aspirational brand by creating an experience for consumers. And therefore, your ability to differentiate and charge a premium has grown exceptionally. Now, let me give you some more examples. So this is the birthday cake example I was discussing, and you can see from, a commodity which may be less than $1 to, you're charging for $100 per person, for example, if you're creating or staging that experience. This can be in very different businesses. Even a hypothetical possibility of even, converting, say, maize or a corn into experience. How exactly you can do. So this is the idea. So what is new in this? What is, unique, for example, about the experience? So in most, those who have done MBA or attended similar classes, in most, basic courses in marketing, they tell you that all the offerings which organizations are offering can be differentiated or classified based on the tangibility domain. So I can be in a business of selling something which is pure tangible, like I'm in business of selling salt or soft drink, or I can be in a business of, I can be consultant, or I can be, in academics, for example, or investment banking, where there is pure intangible component. Or I can be in restaurant where there is a combination of, product or service. But what if, say, for example, if I need to place, say, Disney World in this domain, in this continuum, for example, or if I need to place Starbucks or Nike Town or Planet Hollywood, where exactly I will place them? Because what Disney World gives you is not just intangible or a service. It creates a lifetime memorable experience. You carry that experience, and that experience is with you for your entire life. So it's not only about intangibility, there's something more, for example. So how to differentiate service and experience, for example? The entire logic is that experience is different offering. It's not an augmented service, for example, or a layer added to service. It's little different or little more than that. So if you see, at least on few dimensions, we can say in service, we talk about intangibility, but when you talk about experience, you talk about creating memorable experience, compelling experience, unique experience, extraordinary experience. In services, we talk about customization, but in experience, we talk about personalization. In services, we say that it's delivered on demand, but experiences are revealed over a period of time. In services business, we treat our customer as client, but in experience, we attempt to treat them as a guest. More importantly, in services, we talk about customer benefit. But when you talk about experience, you're talking about sensations, 5 sensations, all like the kind of ambience Starbucks creates in its stores, for example. The aroma, is a very important element of that entire experience it delivers. So this is the idea that experiences are distinct, different from services, and therefore, they need to be staged differently, planned differently, delivered differently. Now, let me do some quick calculation. So, in fact, I wrote a case long ago on Barista, the first player offering high-end coffee retailing in India. Starbucks is a late entrant, but Barista was technically a pioneer in coffee retailing in India. So I did some simple calculation just to give you an idea of value creation. So this is, of course, see, even internationally, when I'm buying coffee bean, as I said, I can buy it from Ethiopia at a damn cheap price. I can pay a little more if I'm buying branded coffee. I need to pay a little more, maybe less than $1 if I'm getting coffee from vending machine or kiosk, for example. But if I'm buying that coffee from Starbucks, as I said, I need to pay $8, $10. It's a little old figure. Nowadays, even more. Now, let us look at just a quick calculation, little old data, but you can update. The figures and ratio continue to be same. So, for example, when I looked at data a few years ago, so if I need to buy a kg of coffee bean from Bangalore or a market in southern India, all I need to pay is 40 rupees or 50 rupees for a kg of coffee bean. Now, for a cup of coffee, I need 5 grams of coffee. So technically, if I have 1 kg of coffee, I can make 200 cups of coffee. Now, Barista, when it started operation, they were charging 60 rupees for a cup of coffee. Nowadays, I say Starbucks charges 300 rupees for a cup of coffee or 250 rupees for a coffee. Now, if you have 200 cups out of 1 kg, and you are charging 60 rupees in case of Barista, then how much value you have created? Out of 1 kg, when you deliver that as an experience, you have created a value of rupees 12,000. So remember that the coffee bean was of 50 rupees kg. When it's sold as an experience, then this is 12,000 rupees kg. And look at the value increase. the value has gone up by 30,000%. That's a phenomenal value you are creating when you convert a commodity into experience. Now, in fact, you look at the data, international data for Starbucks, you can do the value addition, value creation at each level. So, as I said, when I need to buy a brew or Nescafe, I need to pay roughly, 250, 300 rupees for 500 grams. So when I convert commodity into brand, there is a 1500% increase in value. When I sell the same coffee through coffee vending machine, like Nestle does, at a 5 rupees and sometimes 10 rupees per cup, then there is a value increase of about 150. But when I convert the same service into experience, like in case of barista, then there is a value increase of roughly 1200%. That's a phenomenal value you create. In fact, if you look at the international data, as I was saying, the data said that when Starbucks purchases coffee, coffee from Ethiopia, coffee beans from Ethiopia, Latin America, or elsewhere, they pay on an average less than $1 per pound of coffee. But when they sell the same coffee in their outlets, then the value they create or the value they realize is a $230. Remember that you have purchased the coffee at a less than $1 per pound, but when you convert into experience and sell it, then it's a $230. And look at the value increase or value increase in the value realization. This is a 46,000%. And of course, that led to a lot of people eventually pointing fingers and saying that companies like these companies like Starbucks or many others, for example, they are not necessarily providing the best prices to farmers, and this fair trade movement, which was started in Europe and US, that led to, eventually these companies planning to give or trying to give better prices to the farmers. So this is, this is the value creation dynamics which I tried explaining you. Now, again, as I was saying that it's a distinct offering, and when you have a commoditization at a good level or at a service level, then the experience is next possibility. If you want a further differentiation, you want better pricing, better premium, then maybe you can think about converting your service into experience. I talked about, the idea is that if you do this, then consumers are willing to pay for that. That's why, as I said, that there are consumers paying, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times for the experience when it is created. Now, in terms of when we try understanding experience, how this is different, so we say that product is always external to you. When I'm buying burger or Domino, it's external to me. When I'm getting it from QSR, it's product plus service, but that's still external to you. But when when somebody is attempting to give me experience is all inside me. It's very amorphous, it's very delicate. It's there inside you. Nobody can say that this is the experience, take it from me. It's a very different offering. And therefore, it needs to be treated differently. You need a different strategy to design and deliver. And that's why, for example, there are many elements, like Starbucks decided that they will never ever use franchising as a route, as a strategy all throughout. They said that we'll have all company-owned outlets. When we are in business of, for example, experience, selling, then we cannot trust our franchisees, for example. Whereas if you look at McDonald's, to contrast, you can see all over the world, McDonald's has used this franchising route beautifully. They have almost 20, I was told, I don't remember exact figure, but 15,000, 20,000, even more. 95% of their outlets are franchisee. But if you look at Starbucks has never used franchising as a route. They used company-owned outlet as a strategy. So this is the idea. So let me explain you what is experience using this framework given by Pine and Gilmore. So what they say that, when you attempt to provide experience, there are two possibilities, that customer is passive recipient or consumer may be active participant. And so that's one dimension, that horizontal or x-axis. The y-axis or the vertical axis is absorption. So you have consumers, when you're giving that experience, consumer may be absorbed or consumer may be immersed in that. So 4 different types of experience: entertainment, like movie theater; educational, like if you're coming to IMA or ISB, that's an experience; or aesthetics or escapism. Now, the idea is that look at Las Vegas is a city, or the casinos in the Las Vegas, for example, they attempt to do all 4. That center point, that is said to be the sweet spot. If you create that kind of experience, then invariably that So this final last slide from my side, that how exactly do that? At least look at what Planet Hollywood is doing or Hard Rock Cafe is doing. So often one element is the theme, the experience, that Hollywood is a theme or some XYZ, rainforest is a theme, for example, or some other theme. So decide that, harmonize, consumer impressions with all the positive cues. So everything which supports that experience, everything which is hygienic conditions, all the negative cues, for example, needs to be removed. Mix in memorabilia. Like when you visit Disney World, you buy all the t-shirt, everything, all the replicas. So it's part of that experience. You carry that experience with you all throughout that life. You have those memorabilia, for example, with you. And invariably here we talk about all five senses. It's not just functional, but sensory hedonic experience you have, where there's a sometimes smell element, touch element, all the five senses we talk about. Okay, so I will stop here. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I have one more small workshop on innovation. I will do this after a while, after another event. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Jaiswal.